Tell me if that's you. You listen to English while you're driving to work, cooking, or exercising. You consume quite a lot, and you sometimes dare to watch movies in English or a TV series maybe, but yet it does not translate into good exam results. If that's you, keep watching, because in this video, I'm going to show you 3 effective active listening strategies that you can implement in order to finally start seeing results. My name is Magda, and I prepare service members for SLP, STANAG, and JFLT exams. So if that's something that you're interested in, stay on this channel or visit my website that you can see now on the screen. But let's start with explaining what passive learning actually is. In this video, I will be talking mostly about passive listening consumption. Passive learning is when you receive a lot of input. You learn new information, you study, but you don't use your knowledge in a practical way. It's like reading a book about how to learn English or the English grammar book, but never applying it in real life. It's being constantly in the preparation mode. And you know what's the worst thing? That you manage to convince yourself that you're actually learning. You believe your own lie. This is the illusion of learning, and you end up actually thinking, yeah, I'm doing something, I'm progressing, moving forward, whereas you actually are really, really slowly moving forward, not as fast as you could be. Okay, let's take listening. Passive listening is when you, for example, play a podcast in the background, and in the meantime, you're doing 5 other things. Right? Multitasking, everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's listening without paying constant attention, which is quite normal because our brain is not able to pay attention constantly. And this type of listening makes sense in a few situations. It makes sense when you're at the beginning of your learning journey, right? When you're just starting to learn the language, you get familiar with the sound that you hear, sound patterns, sentence structure, sentence patterns, and intonation in general. It also makes sense when you have just moved abroad and you are absorbing the language from the people that you hear in the street and so on. It happened to me when I moved to Spain. I didn't speak for a few months. I was just absorbing Spanish. And it also makes sense if you're listening to an audiobook, because not every single word that you hear in an audiobook matters, whether you're listening to a crime story or you're listening to like a self-help book, right? Like it's not every sentence that matters. So you need to filter out like the information that you need and you don't. However, this type of listening will not be nearly as effective as active listening when you're preparing for the SLP, STANAG, and JFLT exams. Why? Because the exam tasks are strictly related to active listening and active processing of the information. You need to analyze fast the information that you hear. You need to figure out both the general meaning and also focus on the details. That's very active, right? We need to constantly analyze, process, and select information. And that's a lot of work. And if the only thing that your brain is used to is lazy, passive consumption of the language, you can see now the correlation that the results will not be really that great. Active listening is giving 100% of your attention. Sounds like a lot of work? Because it is. And I wanted to show you just three, there are more, but I want to present you 3 active listening strategies that you may start using. And the good thing is that you don't need to look for new materials to do that. You can use the same materials that you are using to do the passive listening that you've been already doing, I assume. Number 1 is transcription. Transcribing speeches that you hear. You can transcribe the speeches of the politicians, or some TED Talks. TED Talks would be actually great because you also have the transcript there. And the important part is comparing what you transcribed with the transcript. So try to find the materials that actually have a transcript so that later on you can compare. your transcription with the real transcript and identify the improvement areas. Identify whether you struggle, for example, with connected speech, how native speakers connect the words, or what is exactly that you are not able to hear. You may also realize that some words that you thought you knew, you're not able to recognize them when you hear them. That's a light bulb moment. That's a big learning moment. Okay, so never miss an opportunity to learn something. It's a tiring, demanding exercise, but extremely effective. My students swear by it. Number 2, you can be summarizing a longer piece that you have just heard, whether it's a piece of news or a podcast audition. It's important to get used to processing the information in English. And the best way to see whether you understood the message is to explain it to someone else. In the same way as when we are learning, the best way to actually learn is to explain a concept to someone. So you need to summarize what you heard, and this way it will help you to organize your thoughts and really understand the message well. You can do it both in the audio format or in the written format, whatever you prefer. And number 3 is shadowing the speaker. Okay, probably you have heard about the shadowing technique. Is basically when you become a shadow of a person. This means that when this person speaks, you repeat just after them. Okay, there are some videos on YouTube, some tutorials on how to do shadowing effectively. I encourage you to research that and give it a try, because this will also help you to improve your pronunciation, your intonation. So it's a win-win, both speaking and listening improved. And bear in mind that listening and speaking, they really have a lot in common. And when you improve your pronunciation and also the awareness of certain sounds and connected speech, you're improving also your listening skills. If you're interested in the topic and would like to dive deeper into it, check out my Listening Active Practice Masterclass, where I show you by using different audio and video materials how to practice active listening. The link is in the description of the video. You will also learn a lot, not only about strategies, but also the accents that you find the most challenging. You'll be able to identify that, and some nuances related to connected speech. So, to wrap it up, if you want to start seeing results, use passive listening or passive learning as an additional strategy, but prioritize active listening. Sometimes 15 minutes of active listening exercise can be way more effective and give you more results than 1 hour of passive listening. Thank you for today and see you in my next video. Bye.